Hey guys, how's it going? So as part of the Gamescom reveal, I got to sit down and play the Anno 117 demo version that's going to be available at Gamescom. Big shout out and thank you to Ubisoft Minds for giving me remote access to this. I got about an hour to sit down and play with this demo version of the game, and I chose Albion as my starting location just because we've already seen Latium, so I wanted to show off some of Albion this time. So let's not waste any time, let's get in here and let's discover Albion in Anno 117 Pax Romana. Now, a couple of disclaimers. As usual, this is a demo. This is not representative of the final game, although this is getting pretty close to what I'm sure the final game will look like. This was also a remote access event, so it was all recorded and played in 1080p, but the final game will have 4K resolution available on it. And if you want to try this out for yourself, starting September 2nd, there will be a public demo available through Ubisoft Connect and Steam, where you can download and play the game for about 2 weeks as part of this public demo and try the game out for yourself. So be on the lookout for that starting September 2nd. Now, while I start building up the city in the background here using a very awkward layout that I was trying to test around and play around with, we're going to talk about a little bit of what we see on the screen. First of all, we have the construction bar and your action bar at the bottom. This is where the construction menu is for your basic construction things such as building materials, roads, warehouses, city watch services, and so on are built from, and then you have the different population tiers and all of the buildings underneath those. There's 10 action buttons at the bottom. They start with some default stuff in them, such as roads, houses, and a warehouse, and then there are tools on the other side, but those can be changed around and anything can be put on there that you want. There's also a separate button over here for ornaments, and then over on the other side is where your ships and your armies are found. Next up we have the mini-map. This is where a lot of your controls and stuff are at for game speed, as well as fertilities and resources on the island, as well as swapping to different regions, and the day and night controls. Along the left side, we have quick access to important features such as notifications, quests, the tech tree, religion, trade routes, diplomacy, and prestige. And then across the top, we have your total amount of coins, your income, your global population, your current research, your workforce, your profile image in the center that you can click on to access the stats screen, as well as change information about your profile. Then you have your city name, local population, local income, and then later on, city attributes will also be listed here, as well as your city level status. So what have I been doing in the background this whole time that I've been talking? Well, we've been setting up our basic city. You start with the waiter population. That is your basic tier 1 population before you decide if you want to go Romanized Celts or native Celts. They have a few basic needs: cockle shells or eels for food, a market or a bard's hall for entertainment, and public service buildings. And then you can do tunics or reed shoes for clothing. All of those come with different attributes that they supply, and then the spinner, which makes tunics, and then the production building that makes the reed shoes, as well as the market and bard's halls, also have AoE attributes that affect all buildings around them. So you have to consider where you want to place those as you're building your city. One of the most important features in Albion are the marshlands. Marshlands are required for a number of different production chains, and you will need to utilize those marshlands as efficiently as possible in order to maximize the amount of space that you're given for your marshland products. Since the marshland is going to be the focus of my industry, I do decide to go ahead and move all of my sawmills and lumberjacks up near the marshland, near that warehouse that I built out on the marshland, and free up space near my trading post for more housing and public service buildings. Now, there is a technology later that allows you to drain the marshes, and this is most useful for the Romanized Celts who have less dependence on the marshes for their production chains. So I'm getting ready to place down my first market, and you can see those green arrows popping up, and those green arrows are telling me that there is a positive AoE attribute coming from that building, and that AoE attribute being population and income. It also lists that on that building right there. You can see that the reed right there gives me happiness, and it tells me the number of affected buildings. Now, I'm clicking through these kind of quickly because these are tutorial pop-ups that you'll have the ability to turn off if you don't want them, but they are really useful for new players to explain various game mechanics and features of Anno and Anno 117 specifically to nudge you in the right direction of what you should be doing while you're playing. And while exploring the map, I did discover Voada. Voada is the pirate character in Albion. She has this very large hill fort that you can see right here, and she will make demands of you and send out ships to raid you. Now, like with any pirate, we can pay her off, try to make her happy, or we can go to war with her and take out her island. Your NPC competitors are a little bit different in Anno 117 than they were in previous Annos. Instead of coming up and giving you quests all the time, now you can go directly to their lighthouse, select the lighthouse, and you can get contracts. You can do one contract roughly every 30 minutes, and they can be as simple as collecting flotsam all the way up to delivering a large amount of goods. The amount of coin you get varies. At the beginning of the game, you might get a 900 or 1,000 coins for delivering something or for picking up flotsam, and later in the game, it can be several thousand. Doing contracts also improves your reputation with that competitor, and they actually will get real upset with you if you don't do contracts.
I myself have few needs. A blade wiped clean.
Someone bite me.
So with most of our needs for our waiters already met, I did decide to go ahead and supply tunics to them as well for a little extra money. Placing down the spinner right here, you can see that it's showing that I'm going to affect around 40 to 50 buildings and get +1 income from each of those. So that's a plus 47, I think it was, income boost right there. Place down the rest of the chain. The spinner needs a single hemp farm to supply it, and then our people will have tunics coming in for fashion as well as their reed shoes, and we'll be able to upgrade them into the next tier of population. And we're ready to upgrade, and we get one of the most important choices that we're going to start with here in Albion, and that is to either go Romano-Celtic or just plain Celtic. Each side has pros and cons to it, different needs, different resources you're going to have to be on the lookout for. Your starting island in Albion is likely not going to have everything that it needs to get you past the second tier, and you're going to have to expand out to another island, but which island you expand out to depends on which path you choose to go down and what resources you start with on your island. I decided to go the Celtic path for this one just because we've seen some Roman stuff in my last hands-on preview, and I wanted to give Albion a try this time. A new population tier means a new building material, and this one is wattle and daub. And the production chain simply consists of reeds and mud, both of which are produced on marshland, and then the wattle and daub maker itself, which can be built on land or marshland. Now, the neutral traders do sell the majority of goods in the game to you, so I'm setting up buy orders for timber and wattle and daub. And I'm also going to do something that I'm pretty sure I don't think I showed in the Latium hands-on preview, and that's how you set all goods for that particular island to either sell when over a certain amount or the minimum stock. Setting the values in this screen right here affects all current and future goods, but you can go in and manually change anything you want. Like when I did the bricks and the wattle and daub, those do not respect the all goods values because they have been manually changed. This is just a really nice little quality of life feature to help you quickly set up all of your goods on the island to sell when over certain amounts. Alright, with a little bit of wattle and daub here, I'm ready to start supplying the needs for my smiths. We're going to start with cheese. Cheese is super easy to produce. All it takes is a single ox farm, which you can see me struggling trying to find a really good layout for it to make it as, square as possible or rectangular as possible, and I finally figured it out after a bit of tweaking around with the pastures. I came up with a nice uniform layout for it, but one ox farm can supply 2 dairies. Now it's time for belief and knowledge attributes to be added to our cities, and we're going to do that through the Phantom. This building is a combination of the Grammaticus and the Sanctuary from Latium, and it provides +2 belief and +1 knowledge to all buildings within the radius of it. With knowledge being accumulated, I can now go into the research tree and decide where I want to go first. There's a lot of different options, but the first one I want to go down is going to be sewing circles. To get to it, I need to go through trading post improvements, which allows me to upgrade my trading post and will give me extra workforce on my island from the trading post itself. And then sewing circles gives the spinner, which produces your tunics, a +1 knowledge area of effect. So it's just going to give us a little bit more knowledge since we are lacking that quite a bit in Albion. I'm also going to go ahead and place down a recreation ground. This is the second possibility for public service needs for your smiths. Along with the Phantom, I want to go ahead and place both of them down since they both provide really good benefits. The recreation ground gives happiness, health, and prestige. The happiness and health are most important early game because you want to try to keep your city status attributes higher. And we haven't talked about city status attributes, but I will shortly. So I've built out more and more of the city and I'm ready to supply the next set of production goods that I have unlocked, and that's going to be the trousers. Trousers are, again, a very simple production. You simply need sheep, a weld plantation, and a hosier. Again, like with most buildings in the game, the hosier has AoE attributes on it that you want to take a look at and make sure you place it where it's going to have the biggest benefit. I'm also going to place down a torque production chain for that consumer good. However, the torque production chain has a lot of negatives. The copper mine lowers the health of all surrounding buildings by -2, and then the wire twister lowers the fire safety of all surrounding buildings by -2. So you want to make sure you place these away from the city. Now let's talk about city status. This is a big part of Anno 117. City status is a milestone based on the current population of your island. The larger the island, the higher the city status. You can see this one right here is a city status level 3, and it goes up to 750 island population. At 750 island population, we will move into city status level 4. The biggest thing about city status is it has an effect per residence, and you can see that at the bottom. Currently, with 374 population, I am getting minus 1.2 happiness, 1.2 health, minus 0.2 fire safety, plus 0.4 belief, and plus 0.2 knowledge. Now these numbers are going to keep scaling up, and then at 750 island population, we're going to see the happiness will be at -2, health at -2, fire safety at -1, belief will be at 1.5, and knowledge at 1. And then it keeps scaling up from there. There's a whole scaling system with it and everything that I'm not going to go into because we're still in development and everything, and these numbers might change. But just know that as you grow your city, these numbers are going to continue increasing, and you're going to have to counter them by doing things such as placing down city watch services. There are technologies you can research to offset some of these numbers, as well as consumer goods and production buildings and public service buildings and many other ways to counter these numbers. Everything you need to know is listed right here. You can mouse over each individual attribute and get a breakdown. You can see for island health right here, I have an island health of 97. It tells me that I can have an outbreak about every 1 hour and 22 minutes, and up to 8 buildings will catch a disease. Since I do have a positive attribute, I have a possibility of a festival happening every 6 hours and 53 minutes. And then the 97 island health, the entire breakdown is shown below. The positive or negatives from needs, positive and negatives from area of effects and specialists, and then from other sources such as city status, festivals, and so on. And that gives you your total for the island. It might seem like a lot, but it's actually really, really intuitive, and it's pretty easy to balance. So I'm placing down a Medici and a Custodes from the City Watch building tab. These are the first two that I currently need at City Status Level 3. I don't need fire safety coverage just yet. I'll need that at City Status Level 4. Now that is specific to Albion. Latium is a little bit different, and you actually start with fire safety first, and then you need a Custodes, and then you need the Medici. We're going to place those around to boost up our city attributes and provide incident response units for those occasions when incidents do occur. I'm having a little bit of fun here, and I am finally building on an angle. We have built this entire city so far on the 90-degree grid, and now I am flipping that around a little bit, and we are now building on the 45. Building on a 45 is a little tricky, actually, because the buildings take up more tiles, while still retaining the same relative square footage on the building's actual model. That's just because the 45-degree building grid is roughly half the size of the 90-degree grid, so the buildings take up a little bit more space. So some layouts don't always work right, but it is still really fun to build on the 45 and add a little visual variety to your city. Now, if you're wondering what that building is in the very center bottom of the screen that I haven't talked about, that is the new villa. They have completely overhauled the villa from the last hands-on preview that we were shown. Instead of a customizable Anno 1800 style palace that has an expanding radius, kind of like the Hacienda did, the villa is now a single building that you place with a fixed radius around it and a fixed number of slots that can be unlocked through island prestige. And then you have guest houses, which are a trade union town hall combo building that only has 2 slots and a very limited space around it. I will have to say that I'm not really a fan of this system. I really preferred the previous villa system. And from what I could see of the items and stuff that I did get a chance to glance at in the game, they don't really fit the building style that is proposed by Anno 117. Because you're no longer going to be clumping up a lot of industries in one area. Some stuff you might, like certain types of farms maybe, or production buildings that just have nothing but negative attributes on them that you want to keep away from your main city. But overall, the new system doesn't really play very well with the design choices for Anno 117 on mixing production. But we'll just see how it plays out over time. Now, we do have to do a little normal Anno city management here, and we are going to go into the production screen of the stats menu, which is returning from Anno 1800 in the form of Control Q on PC, and whatever it is on console, I have no clue, or you can select your portrait at the top center of the screen. They've made a couple of adjustments here. Production is now listed first with your demand on the bottom, and the demand is now a white bar instead of a blue bar. And so all you have to do is make sure that your green bar is equal to or greater than your white bar. All right, so I have found an island that has 10 on it, and I'm going to go ahead and get our first expansion set up over there to start gathering that 10. Now, 10 does require smiths in order to function. However, since we've researched the trading post improvement, I can upgrade our trading post here and get a supply of 35 smiths on this island in order to work the tin mine. So we need to move that tin from the new island back to the capital. I'm going to buy a small pentaconter from the procurator Corvinus for 2,300 denarii and go ahead and get that trade route set up. We're going to select our tin island, select our main island, make sure that we have the pentaconter set as the ship on that route, and then load and unload the tin at each location. Please excuse Tarragon, he's having a complete glitch fit in the background, trying to offer me trade agreements over and over again. With 10 on its way in now, I can go ahead and finish setting up the rest of the drinking horns by placing down the ox farm and getting it put down in the marshlands along with a warehouse, and get the horner set in the city since it does come with income and happiness attributes on it. Now, religion plays a really big role in Anno 117. I'm not going to go into a lot of details and stuff on the religion system yet because, again, still in development, there's still a lot of things that can change. However, there are various gods that are unlocked from the beginning, such as Sirius, Mars, and Neptune, and then other gods that you need to unlock through research, such as Cernunnos and Minerva. The different gods have different bonuses they supply locally to your islands. For example, Ceres increases the production of bread, porridge, beer, olive oil, and grapes. And she also increases the population provided from homes, and that number increases the more local devotion you have to that god. Local devotion is accumulated through your belief on the island. Then there are global effects, which is the cumulative devotion from all islands dedicated to that particular god, and they have some very powerful bonuses on those as well. You don't have to select a patron deity as soon as you unlock the religion through building either a sanctuary or a phantom. You can wait on that and choose a patron deity later when you have unlocked some more of them that might have some better bonuses for you for your starting island and your other islands. I'm almost at the end of my time with my hands-on preview for Anno 117 for this Albion first look. We only got the chance to go up to tier 2. We did not get a chance to go to tier 3 in Albion. So creating the ceremonial shields is basically the end of my time in Albion. But we're going to go ahead and get that set up. Again, very easy chain, a wheeled farm, tin, copper to make bronze, and some charcoal to create some shields. So what are my thoughts so far on Anno 117 after these couple of hands-on previews that I've been given the opportunity to play? Well, so far I'm really enjoying it. It definitely does feel a lot like Anno 1800 with a Roman skin, but that's to be expected. Anno games have always felt very similar to each other starting out. The basic formula is always there. Build houses, build production chains, balance your production versus your consumption, set up trade routes, rinse and repeat. The difference comes in the aesthetics and the setting and any new features and mechanics that they introduce. And I think Anno 117 has introduced some really interesting mechanics and features to spice up the gameplay. The inclusion of a technology tree, which was absent in Anno 1800, but has been present in almost all of the other previous Anno games, gives you, the player, some different paths you can go down on how you want to progress your city and what you want to unlock first and what you want to unlock later. And there's a lot of really interesting bonuses and stuff underneath the tech tree for your city to help improve efficiency and optimization later on without you having to actually go in there and do anything efficient or optimized to your city itself. You just have to research a technology. The religion system is going to be really interesting, and I think it's going to provide a lot of interesting paths on how you set up your islands and how you might dedicate your islands and trying to group certain resources together. For example, you might want a Ceres island that has resin, olives, and grapes on it to maximize those 3 production chains. You might want to create a Neptune island that has mackerel, oysters, and sturgeon on it. In Albion, you might set up a Cernunnos island that has production chains grouped together that he benefits. There's going to be a lot of interesting ways to go about doing the religion, and some of the buffs are really strong too. I think there's just enough difference with 117 to make it different from 1800 while still laying a really good foundation for years of support going forward with new content from DLCs. And I think by the end of 117's development, we will have a game that is on par with Anno 1800 after the 6 years of development on that game. Of course, mods and everything are going to be available for Anno 117, and that's just going to even further increase the amount of content and replayability that the game gives us. And I am absolutely itching to play more of this game. There's definitely a lot more to balance and keep track of, such as the city status attributes and the city status level, and trying to keep those numbers balanced and positive. But I think overall it's going to be a great addition to the Anno franchise, and I look forward to making many videos about this game, including tips and tricks, guides, walkthroughs, as well as a few long-form playthroughs. Don't forget that on September 2nd, the demo for the game will be available on Steam and Ubisoft Connect. So if you are interested in trying it out, be sure to mark that day on your calendar, and I'll have videos out on September 2nd to help guide you through how to learn how to play Anno 117 Pax Romana. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get any really good panoramics of the city or anything before the end of my playtime because I wasn't paying attention, and it kicked me out at the end, so I didn't get any good screenshots or anything, but I can leave you with this slightly zoomed in nighttime shot of my city, and ask for your forgiveness because I was way too involved in building and playing around with numbers and everything, and I didn't get any good up-close footage like I normally would. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this first look at Albion. More videos to come later, as well as some guides and walkthroughs coming on September 2nd for the demo. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.